More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimany, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Pills, where we explore the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern day science to uncover what true healing really means, body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host, Josh Rimany, pharmacist turned healer. And today we're diving deep into the world of personalized health intelligence with a guest who's transforming the way we think about wellness. Jeremy Malecha is a CEO and co-founder of Biocanic, a platform that empowers functional medicine practitioners with data-driven tools to personalize and scale their impact. I am one of those people. With over 25 years in the healthcare and software biz and a mission to build a new integrative medicine marketplace, Jeremy is here to share why now is the most exciting and urgent time to reclaim control over our health. We have that in common. I love this. And if you've ever wondered how tech and transformation can coexist in wellness, you're in the right place. This is a conversation for you. Let's go beyond the pills with Jeremy Malecha. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you having me on. Super excited to have the conversation.
Yeah, we've instantly connected in these cool ways. I found Biocanic by happenstance. And so here we are, like in this journey. So let's just get people used to what's going on in this world. Like, take us back. What inspired you to create Biocanic, and how did your background in biomedical engineering and healthcare tech shape this mission?
Yeah, so long founder journey for you. So I have always been interested in health and wellness, even all the way back in high school. I actually started out as an athletic trainer. Then I realized I didn't want to be sitting at JV soccer games the rest of my career. So I actually switched to medical engineering. So I actually studied signals and systems, worked in traditional engineering. So I was in the medical device market. I was doing signal processing for non-invasive cardiovascular assessments. So it was great. You know, I learned a lot of tools, got to do all the fun stuff like AI and machine learning back before it was a buzzword. But then I realized I didn't want to be an engineer the rest of my life. So I got into product management and then went over to ResMed. So if people don't know who ResMed is, they should. It's the largest CPAP manufacturer in the world, continuous positive airway pressure. I led their product portfolio across the globe. We ended up putting cellular chips on board of every single CPAP device. So ResMed now has the largest connected medical device ecosystem in the world. But that created a data problem for us. So we had to build cloud infrastructure, which then led us into acquiring medical record systems, specifically in post-acute care. So we actually rolled up about 6 different platforms. So think about skilled nursing, durable medical equipment, home health. And all along that pathway and journey, you know, I was doing great from a career standpoint, but my health was declining. So putting on weight, you know, doing all the right things, gluten-free, organic, you know, Sobertober, all of that stuff. Yet every objective metabolic marker I had was going in the wrong direction. Then my wife actually started studying to being a functional medicine practitioner. I was obviously her first client. You know, we went through the journey over time and ultimately got to the root cause of my issue, which was a combination of genetics, my diet in terms of food sensitivities, my hormonal reactions, my pathways, and that led to a transformation of my health. So I ended up losing about 40 pounds in 30 days. I was dealing with chronic back pain, that same back, no back pain anymore. So really settled my inflammation issues, really found and dialed in what worked for me. So I feel healthier now at 48 than I did at 28. So I was really inspired to kind of be a part of the industry. What I saw was practitioners were taking what is the traditional electronic medical record model and then trying to apply it into a care delivery model, which is long-term or longitudinal. And so when you take a step back and you look at a medical record technology, so anybody that's been in practice at typical episodic care, medical records at their core are documentation for the purposes of billing insurance, prescribing, and
Yep.
referring,
Yep.
right? It is never intended to actually do long term care, right? Because it's built around a volume based model,
Transactional.
a transactional model. Exactly. And the funny thing is, when you think about the patient portal, people are like, "Oh, do you have a patient portal?" And we do it totally differently. People don't recognize there is one reason why a patient portal exists, and it was for the meaningful use requirements so that a physician could get paid. It was never intended to actually work for a patient.
Right.
And so one of the things that really people struggle with in functional, integrative, personalized approaches is the patient portal is a glorified Dropbox, right? It's file folders, maybe some messaging, can't really do anything with it. But if I'm coming to you as a consumer, I should demand a good consumer experience. So I want to see the $2,000 in lab testing. What am I working on? What do my supplements look like? What is the why behind what I'm doing today? Right. So if I run a stool microbiome test and I have gut dysbiosis, I want to be able to see, oh, that is now why I'm taking digestive enzymes and probiotics and why I'm changing my diet and adding, different fiber foods in there to help support that. So now I'm connecting the dots, right? So it's what gets measured, gets managed.
Hmm.
So that is the focus of what we've done. And so the joke, I jokingly say we basically took a medical record and turned it 90 degrees. So instead of transactional, we're thinking long term, right? How do you help that individual end user kind of understand their journey, where they're at, and what to do next? But then more importantly, how does a practitioner scale, right? Because when you're a practitioner and you have a lot of different data sources and you're doing things in a highly personalized way, it's death by 5-minute paper cuts. It's reviewing a comprehensive intake form and opening it up. Now I have to open up 3 different labs and get to the right page. Oh, wait, what was that lab that they took a month ago? And what was that value? Now I have to go back to that old record,
Hmm.
right? And so when you have one client, not a big deal. When you have 10, 20, 50, 100 clients, now all of the inefficiency adds up and that prevents practitioners from scaling. And so philosophically, what we are doing is we're tech enabling practitioners to do exactly what they want to be as clinicians and not administrators.
Woo. You already solved half of my questions, so we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
I want to take a step back because this is one I love the vibe and the spin on this because I've done this so many times with practitioners where they've gone through their own health transformation and then they compelled to heal others, right? Going from the Westworld brain into the functional integrative and even into the healing space now, like energy and all this stuff. But you did that same transformation, but you used your zone of genius and your way and then solving it within the ecosystem of it instead of becoming a practitioner, right? And going
Yeah.
down that way, you you happen to find one. It's your wife.
Mhm.
You were patient number one, and then you went through your own personal journey. Like this is exactly where I feel a lot of people get stuck in the business of healthcare and then the business of well care
Mhm.
is they haven't become their own place. So I love like that your journey started there. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to help these people because I'm part of this now.
Mhm.
And then, holy moly, like this is exactly why it resonated when I found Biocanic because I've used other platforms for my functional medicine, and I've had this same sort of issues with not the EMR side, the electronic medical record, but the pharmacy management systems. They're
Mhm.
so transactional and we're moving. I've gone full circle from like being a pharmacy owner to an integrative health guy to a clinical nutritionist to functional medicine, being in that hybrid world where people are coming in because they're sick,
Mhm.
filling their prescriptions, and then delivering the wellness. And there was this gap. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't do it over here and I'd be speaking on national stages and how to do these things with like well care. And they're like, well, how do you do it in this system? I'm like, you can't. Like, it does,
Mhm.
it's not designed for that. So it resonates with me on the pharmacy side, which is why you and I have connected because I think we have a
Yeah.
stopgap in pharmacy too, where people are coming in to be well, but they're really not. And then we have no place for those practitioners to move in that direction.
Mhm.
And you're solving those multiple problems, right? You're solving what the practitioner efficiency scaling, like this is exactly what we're creating with our RX to wellness, right? And
Mhm.
why I believe Biocanic is beautifully placed in the right time for me,
Mhm.
because we're not doing this in a brick and mortar. We're doing this nationally. We're doing this not from a practitioner only space, but with coaching and supplements and delivering the labs. So your system was in your perfect entrepreneurial space, right? Solve a problem.
Yeah.
You build it for the patient too, not just the
Mhm.
practitioner. This is why this is that merging of, it's a portal for patients to actually do something with it,
Mhm.
track and measure their success with the trackers, with the labs. And you've also solved the problem that I've been looking for over the past year, which is integration, automation, AI. So
Mhm.
I want to bring that into the fold now, because this is your jam, right? You
Right.
do all of this. You were doing AI before AI was a thing. And now we're leading in. We had a beautiful conversation prior to the recording here where we talked about that, where these modern technologies are right here right now for the new age medicine.
Mhm.
And you're right here right now doing, like, it's not an EMR, it's not a patient portal, it's kind of both.
Mhm.
And here we are, like this post pandemic marketplace for wellness.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. I'll let you kind of free flow because there's so much to talk about here. I just
Yeah.
wanted to honor your journey in that,
Yeah.
because kind of like, hey, did that and now I'm doing this. It's like, no, that was it. That was the catalyst. So
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting crossroads. So I actually originally was planning on being an MD PhD. Long story. I got into med school, but I didn't get into the PhD program. And clearly I'm more of a tech person. But I had an interesting conversation with somebody at Stanford, and they were like, why do you want to why would you go to medical school? Because you can impact so many more lives by being more on the technical side, right?
ooh,
So, that's really what we're thinking about when we solve here is we're enabling practitioners to impact more lives rather than, me just going out and being a practitioner and working one-on-one or group programs. What's really great about where technology is today is it's daunting for somebody that lives in the traditional healthcare system to go into this wellness world and start asking for money, right? If you go to pharmacy school, if you go to medical school, you go to naturopathic school, nobody is teaching you how to market your business and do all of that stuff. What's really great about where the technology and, programs like yourself is you're going to enable those people to just be clinicians and not have to worry about, hey, what's my messaging? What's my price point? What does my package look like? What is the automation? What does the systems look like? Because now you can, as a practitioner, I can walk in and I can have it trained to me and given to me in a turnkey way such that I'm not trying flailing. When we first started this journey in uh 2018, I was seeing a ton of practitioners who were so buried in the business component, looking for a copywriter, right? A designer, all of this stuff. And then they didn't really know what was messaging. They didn't know how to test. And now with this kind of rise of AI enablement tools, now it becomes so much easier, right? Because you can say, hey, listen, I'm Jeremy. I focus on uh, Hashimoto's hypothyroid, working with women in perimenopause, and this is my brand voice. This is my journey. Here's some videos, and now I can create content easily and cost effectively. And so now what we can do is we can bring all of those things, and so truly making the leap from, hey, I'm just going to put up a shingle and I have an insurance contract and people show up on my doorstep, to actually transitioning out of that system and not having to worry because you can easily attract new customers because everybody in the world is now more demanding of understanding their health. And I use the term post-pandemic world, but if anything that the pandemic did was it created a general consumer distrust in the traditional system, in that the only person that has my vested interest in my health is me, right?
pointing it right here, right?
Right. And they're
Wow.
and they're looking for people, right? People talk about this idea of like an AI coach or whatever. One of the things that I learned very early on in ResMed was we were trying to do a direct to consumer sleep apnea thing. So if you're not familiar with sleep apnea, basically it's a home sleep test to say how many apnea hypopneas you have in a given period, and that qualifies for you for a CPAP. Unlike anything else, the only way you're going to get hurt with a CPAP is if you hit yourself over the head with it, right? So there's really no reason why a consumer shouldn't be able to get onto CPAP therapy. But do you know why it doesn't work? Is because that human, when they're told that they have a medical condition or a medical concern, wants to talk to a human, right? Because I have questions about what does this mean for me? What should I do? Hey, how about this? What about that? And so this world and the way that it's going to come out is their artificial intelligence can help you kind of create your content, streamline your operations, do your automated outreach, but there is no such thing as artificial empathy, right?
Right.
And that's where that connection comes in. And that's what every clinician in the industry just wants to do. If they can just wake up in the morning, work with people, and drive better outcomes, that's the perfect world. And that ultimately is how we transform the healthcare system today.
And I love that, because I think that's what sparked this beautiful conversation we've been having. Is AI is not here to replace us. It can certainly diagnose the body parts pretty quickly, right? The chemistry, the labs, the interpretation in their own way, but it's that human connection that
Mhm.
that is the way I've always said it. And you can say it in healthcare, well care, consciousness, doesn't matter. Like, AI is here to help free us to be more human. For us, like healers, like if you're in the well care space, you're really a healer. You're like, you get to have a one-on-one connection with
Mhm.
someone, or a group-based connection
Mhm.
where we've had lots of conversations on this podcast about different types of connection, because people don't realize, like, that's part of the healing process, is connecting with someone that's going to be on that journey with you. It's not AI driven. Here's my protocol, and here's like the thing that AI isn't, is, even though it feels like it has a persona to it, because you can create any persona you want, dead or
Mhm.
alive, right? But it doesn't have that compassionate like feel to it, right?
Mhm.
And we know this, and
Mhm.
people are thinking it's going to happen, but it's like, let's free up the practitioner, because I know you work with hundreds of them. It's like,
Mhm.
if I and I want to dive in more, because I think a lot of the practitioners and the healthcare workers that are moving into this, I guess they're calling it like they're moonlighting, right? They're working in the ER, and they really want to work here, but they don't know how to get patients. If I've said this 1,000 times, right? Like, if only anyone knew what I could do for them, right? So
Mhm.
you blended that. I want
Mhm.
people to understand how we can get there. But then that bigger part that you just said, which was so important, which is, we're not replacing, we're actually allowing the practitioners to really do what they want to do, and to get out of the 6-minute visits and moving. We've had conversations on this podcast too, where practitioners are in the allopathic world,
Mhm.
still making a difference in what we're talking about right here. Like that
Mhm.
connection point, moving them into lifestyle medicine, even if they're going in the old system. But
Mhm.
then you have this new system that's coming, that's emerging, that you said, that I believe too, is like, post pandemic, people are hyper aware that they're in the driver's seat.
Mhm.
And this is a tool for them to allow the practitioners to also get what the people really want.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, in e- especially if you're coming from kind of the traditional allopathic world, you're still thinking in terms of what is the medical standard. HbA1c is greater than 6.7, therefore start metformin, right?
Right.
Something, those types of tools. And so people still in some ways forget about the practice of medicine, right? Where meeting your patient where they're at. What are they capable of doing? What do they understand? What's an achievable goal for this week? What's an achievable goal for 2 weeks from now? What do I need to understand better about this individual? How are they carrying stress? What is their willingness to pay? Hey, look, they could benefit from a $500 supplement protocol, but they can't afford it right now. So what are the top two things that they can afford that we need to start on today that we can then advance later on or change over time? how do you set expectations, set goals that are achievable? When I first started this and I put in my resignation at ResMed, I remember the COO at the time. He's like, yeah, my wife went to a functional medicine practitioner and she got a 20-page document of all the stuff she needed to do. And he said, and asked the question, do you know how much of that she did? Zero. Right?
Exactly.
Because that's not, when you have 20 things to do tomorrow, you do zero of them. But if you just say, hey, look, I just want you to do one thing today, one thing next week, one thing 2 weeks from now all of a sudden you're habit building. But that person, that clinician that's connecting with the individual, that understands that person at a deeper level, is what's going to drive success, drive accountability, drive the outcomes and goals that the end user is looking for.
Well, it's the functional health coaching, like 101. Like, my wife's a functional medicine health coach. She's also a holistic pet health coach now. Is it's that, right? It's like your system is created for that, right? It's allowing the practitioner, because for me, like, all those questions, it's like the technology's there to help keep the practitioner, but also the follow-up for the patient. It's like, now you can put in these automations that aren't going to replace that connection, but it's like, for me, I can have these beautiful conversations with a patient. Here's some stuff you need to do. I can get super technical. Yeah, here's a 20-page report. Here's the $10,000 worth of labs that we just ran, and I have this beautiful protocol that's going to heal you. Now, how do you go? Now go do it.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. So we can break this up into pieces, and then we can use the tools we have to make it simple, easy, and fun for people to do.
Yeah. I always one of the things that we have in our system is called it's a health tracker. Essentially, you get a text reminder, an email reminder, daily, weekly, or monthly for check-in. That was built around listening to my wife complain about her clients on dog walks. Because here was the thing, and it's exactly building off of what you said, was she would have somebody would show up to a coaching session a couple weeks later and say, okay, this past week we were working on sleep. Did you get to sleep before 8 for the last 2 weeks? And the answer was always, yeah, I think so. But what they forgot was, hey, 10 days ago on Wednesday, I had a bad day at work, got into a fight with my spouse. Thursday, I went to Taco Tuesday, and then I got back on track. But that moment of stress or that lack of accountability, and then measuring how poor they felt, that moment is the coaching and the accountability that somebody needs to see, right? Because the client or the patient is living through their life working. They don't remember what happened barely yesterday, let alone 10 days ago. But that 10 days ago, to kind of relive that experience, and then more importantly, relive how poor they felt, now they start to connect the dots. And that's really where the coaching and getting people going on the right track comes in.
Yeah, and I think why I'm so excited about this platform, we've just dived in and we're launching this stuff, is just those pieces. It's like, even if you want a personalized approach, like, you can't have $100,000 program where you just get all of my attention and I'm going to be able to walk you through this whole process and give you 5 coaches. It's like, we can use the technology, because technology never sleeps, right? So we can use these tools in the smart ways, because I would imagine we both have the same friends in the same circles and mentors. Like, we've been in these masterminds in these groups, and all these practitioners, like, I don't do tech, I don't do farm, I don't do marketing. I don't know. Like, there are all these pieces where I think the tech that you've created solves those problems, because it's like, well, what if I have this beautiful program, because we can reverse diabetes in 10 weeks. We know we can do it. But then it's like, but I don't cook, and I don't do this, and I don't do that. And it's like, life gets in the way, but life's an excuse, because the 20% of people that don't need that accountability will find it. It'll work, but the 80% never falls through. It's the 80-20 rule. So this is why I'm so excited, because we are bridging technology and modern science into the things we already knew, where we were not getting the outcomes we wanted. I've been in circles with so many practitioners. They're like, we have all these amazing, like, I have this amazing age reversal longevity program, right? I'm proving biological age reversal, but at the same time, it's like, but you got to do the work. and the work is difficult if you don't have the tools around you. So now you can build these tools in any way you like, right? This is the process that that Biocanic works with.
Mhm. Exactly. And so,
Share with us some exciting, like maybe business or um transformational experiences with people that come through and they're using these tools. Because I think it's really important from a patient perspective and also a practitioner perspective on like why this is right here right now and why it is a game changer.
yeah. So one of the really interesting things that we're doing is we're involved in a pediatric autism study. So
Oh,
thankfully, Jeff Bland made the introduction to Carla Precise Health Solutions, who basically observed in working with kids, their protocol was having an impact. They had no idea why. And so they went out and they wanted to do a prospective study and run broad based metabolic data to try to understand what the actual impact was of their dietary and kind of family coaching program was, like from a objective metabolic standpoint. One of the really interesting things that came out of it was, so in the study, they ran genetic tests, so understanding SNPs, microbiome, food sensitivity, comprehensive blood work, then mold, mycotoxins, environmental toxicity, and organic acids. Right. So very comprehensive data, all at week 0, and then again at week 12. One of the things that they really uncovered was that all of the kids had off the chart ochratoxin A. So the ochratoxin A is a food mycotoxin.
yep.
The the intervention was very basic, not complex. Oh, and everybody had some sort of gluten sensitivity of some sort,
And
whether
it's polite to say it on board.
yeah. So essentially, what they did, all they did was say, "Hey, look, we're going to do organic food intervention and then low inflammatory, so getting rid of gluten and dairy and other things." They showed a positive outcome in all behavioral and behavioral based scores and questions within those scores at from week 0 to week 12. And then that ochratoxin came down. And so what was really exciting is now, because we have the objective data and it's not tracked in PDFs, we can actually do cross correlations and say, hey, well, if ochratoxin A over here is elevated and we see the change, what also changed in corresponding ways? So now we can see correlations and inverse correlations. So now we're starting to get insight, whereas it was previously siloed within each test.
Yeah.
And now we can look across it. And now working with Bob Miller at Functional Genomic Analysis, starting to build a thesis around potential detox SNPs and what elements, so what environmental toxicity may be driving a histamine response and a neuroinflammation response. Is there's commonalities where at least, I think 5 different SNP patterns, there's 100% overlap, and then is this now a mechanism by which we can see that, hey, this person was genetically predisposed to being a poor detoxifier. The layering of all of this environmental toxicity and other things is now creating a neuroinflammatory feedback loop. And then if we take that out, we can actually reduce that neuroinflammation. Now, we have correlation data, certainly is very early stages, but this is where it starts to get super exciting, because it's not a clinical trial where we said, hey, we're going to try this novel pharmaceutical. It's actually looking at real world data, measuring an output. And now we can start to build a thesis. So now we go from prospective to an interventional study. Can we actually say, hey, look, now we're going to split these people into 2 arms. We want to compare against the effect and see if that standardizes. And so that's really what's exciting. I mean, that's literally what we built the company for, from my background, which is, let's start to really understand each individual at a deeper level, right? So it's not just a population study or a clinical trial where we're comparing means. We're actually understanding each individual and maybe the whys of what's happening to them.
And it's blending in, like, even though the empirical data and seeing this stuff, this is why labs are so important for some people, is because they see in real time what these things do. And your system's great because you can track it. You're getting all the feeds from the different labs, and they're coming in and they're giving graphical representation. So all this stuff that we don't know how to do as practitioners is all happening in the background to not only validate what we've seen in practice, what we know, but also so we can throw the science piece to it, which can then prove why dairy and gluten are bad for you and why we can move people into these markers, because it's not like pseudoscience. There's SNPs, there's things where it's attaching. I love functional genomics,
Mhm.
and then blending that into the interventions we have to not only validate why we're doing it, but it really, I feel it really does help drive the accountability on the patient level as well, and the practitioner level, because they're starting to, especially from doctors. Pharmacists are great because they've been surviving without labs forever, because they come in and everything's been done, and all of a sudden we treat them with real stuff, right? But like
Mhm.
doctors, they got to see all this stuff, and like, here's, treat the lab, not the person, and we treated the person, not the lab, and now we're like blending it all together in this harmonious way. um so cool. I
Yeah.
love that. So cool.
Yeah. I mean, even in my own personal health journey, right? So I have my genetic SNPs. I'm a poor methylator. Back when I was 40 pounds heavier, um, looking across if anybody's familiar with the Dutch test, you get your hormonal pathways, specifically your estrogen detox pathways. So I would have presented as if I was low testosterone at the time, which I wasn't. I was actually estrogen dominant.
Right.
Right. Or most people would not consider male estrogen dominant, but that is family history. I've got family history of estrogen breast cancers on my mom and my grandma's side. And so one of the things that really brought it together was, okay, my genetic component is I have poor potential for detoxification. I'm seeing poor detoxification in the estrogen pathways. So let's actually think about what is an approach to be able to do that. So in my case, even though I was gluten free, I was carb heavy, right? So I was filling the tank with a lot of carbs. And then I'm a poor methylator. So and I think Carrie Jones uses the bathtub analogy. I've got the faucet still pouring a whole bunch of estrogens in, and I've got a plug drain on the way out.
Mhm.
Right. So what did I do? I went low carb. And then I also supported methylation, right? So glutathione, choline, and methyl donors along the way. And that's really kind of where things came together for me as an individual. And guess what? That only works for me. And so, how do we actually take that information and help the practitioner identify that quicker? Because that was 5 years into my health journey when we finally figured that out. What would I pay to get those 5 years back had we solved that sooner? Right. And that's really, I think, where the exciting part comes in is, can we actually bring those insights back to the clinician to help them understand the data faster and more efficiently?
And that is the emergence of this modern day science, right?
Mhm.
It's doing that. And you're the marketing guy, right? You guys that did the tech. Like, that's a big sell
Mhm.
for someone saying, what if we could take 5 years of your life back? Right?
Mhm.
Because it's so intangible. You can't like go grab it. But that story, that's why I think we have to build these through story, to
Mhm.
build these through like this whole story of transformation. It could have taken 3 months, not 5 years, had we got the right tools. And I think that's exactly what I'm been trying to work on with these high impact ripple effect entrepreneurs and people in men's health. Like, there's this piece here that we can shorten that span and not have to go guess. And I feel like that's where practitioners, but also people can, there's so much here to benefit from.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at right
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that my wife kind of shifted, she still works with clients, but also really helps practitioners really get into their niche. And I think one of the things that people, as a healer, they want to heal everybody,
now. Yeah.
right? The problem is, when you try to heal everybody, you end up spreading yourself too thin, and
You'll know like,
and you heal nobody, right? And the other thing that people need to understand is, this is not a singles bar and you're going to close somebody on the first call on a Friday night at a bar, right? You need to build a relationship. And part of building that relationship is building trust, even if that means you're not meeting with them in person, right? So practitioners really need to think about who they are, who do they want to attract, and who do they want to work with, right? If let's say you're, Dr. Tracy Gappin, who we work with, he's a urologist. He was trying to do the same thing. Then he realized, hey, look, I don't want sick polyautoimmune people. I want men in their 40s to 50s who want a health optimization. I do just basically, I want to give people back energy and give them 10 years of their life so they feel younger and more productive. So that's who he talks to. All of his podcasts, whenever he goes on, he is talking to that kind of solo entrepreneur, health driven dude. He calls them his guys. And that's who he targets and that's who he wants to work with. And that's okay. That's who he wants to work with, right? Whereas my wife, she had Hashimoto's hypothyroid from mold in the house, and she was able to go into to actually resolve that. So now she's really focused on women who are wanting to get the most out of their lives in the later stages of their career. Right. And so practitioners really need to focus on their communication, who they're targeting, who they want to work with. Because again, this is not a transaction based business. This is a long term business. And ultimately, if you're working with the people you want to attract and you like them, that's going to be even more fulfilling when you see the positive outcomes. And when they have their positive outcomes, that becomes your marketing engine that brings back newer patients into your business, and life gets even easier.
Yeah, I think it's not overlooked, and I think people start to also understand, like, it's your avatar. One of them for me is always like your 5 year ago self. It's
Mhm.
like all the stuff you put yourself through as a practitioner, because you went through your own journey. You're like, oh, those are my people. Like, I can help those people. Like, I'm the same way. Like that urologist guy. Like, I love men in their 40s and 50s. Me,
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Me, like, already hit their second mountain of life. It means they've gotten all the success in the outside world. Now they're turning inward. I went to
Yep.
Peru and back. Like, I figured it out, and I was like, let me help you. Like,
Yeah.
I call it my tribe. It's like, oh, that's my tribe. Those are my
Yeah.
people. My dads, like my dad's group. They want to be really awesome dads, but they don't want to just be focused on their business. And it's like,
Yeah.
all right, come join me, you know? But then my wife is like, she found her avatar is like, I want to help those people that are like totally into their own health journey, but they also have pets and they don't know what to do with them. Like,
Yeah.
there's no functional medicine. Like, she found a holistic pet health coaching
Yeah.
program, the only one in the country that deals with it's funny because it's like, but that's her. That's her thing. She
Yeah.
loves puppies. She loves, like, fostering puppies and nurturing them and baking their food. And like, it's like so cool. Like, once you find that though, then it just, I feel, I don't know, like maybe you too, it's like everybody just starts to find and attract you. You're like a magnet,
Yeah.
and it's so
Yeah.
much more fun. Like you said, I always say, like, one of my litmus tests is I don't want to work with people that I wouldn't have a coffee or a meal with.
Yeah.
That's me. Like, some people are very, very transactional, this or that. It's like, no, I'm transformational. Let's go on this journey together.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I know Dr. Ruth, and we've actually used pet coaching for our prior labs.
Didn't
So
you? Yeah, my
I'm
wife's like,
100% on board with it.
she's like, she just graduated her year-long thing with Dr. Ruth, and I met Dr. Ruth at
Yeah.
Judging Virgins thing. Like, it was like we found each other because we sat next to each other, and lo and behold, a year and a half later, my wife's like, I think I want that program. And I was like,
Yeah.
perfect. That's
Yeah.
how it works. So this is how it all works. We all know each other because it's such a small, tight loop.
Yeah.
Um, you got some other stuff going on, like talk a little bit about the bigger mission, the Hicks Live, the things
Yeah.
that you're doing there, because I think that's super important.
Yeah. So one of the things that we really invest in as a company is trying to build community for our practitioners. So our community is called the Health Intelligence Exchange, or HIX for short, HIX. And our goal, one of the things is, you know, practitioners need to have peers and connection, right? And support and questions, or even in one of the things that, going back to this kind of a niche model approach is, my wife was working with a woman. She wanted to get pregnant. She's like, I don't do that. Here, I'm going to refer you over to Dr. Mwatma, who does holistic fertility, right? And so building an industry and a coalition around like-minded practitioners is something that we want to foster. So we have our online site. We have a similar kind of live stream community events and networking. And then we also have our in-person event. And so our in-person event is not, it's came from my experience dragging my expo booth around from conference to conference, right? So what I found was you had really great clinical conferences. So IFM, PLMI, Cellcore's exponential care outcomes, really good clinical stuff. And then you had, JJ Virgin or Health Experts Alliance or these other really kind of business conferences. The problem was nobody put the two together. And as a vendor, it was always challenging because practitioners were like, oh, I got all this great information. I have no idea how to use it. Or, hey, I want to go do all this great business stuff, but then I don't know what to do with it. Right. And so we created what's called the Health Intelligence Exchange live event. So it's October 9th through the 11th coming up. And I have a promo code too, that I've shared with you as well. That I'll
Yeah, we'll
get.
share it in the community. I'll
Yeah,
be there for sure.
yeah, it'll be at a. I set that up anyway. It's Beyond the Pills is the promo code, so it
Nice.
makes it really easy. But it's really intended to be the intersection of clinical and business. And so this is not our event is not a Biocanic commercial. It is our community event, and it is all practitioners or thought leaders to help practitioners scale their businesses on Monday, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this in 3 months. The goal is that you show up on Thursday, you meet with your peers, you create your network, you get 100 new followers, and you get tools and tactics. And so all of our speakers on stage say how they are successful. So, for example, Tracy Gappen, who I mentioned, he spoke last year. He is like, I use Go High Level. I use Biocanic. These are the tools that I use. I have 3 coaches, and this is how I package, price, and promote my offering. And these I use GI Map. I use LabCorp. I use, I can't remember the food side. I think he uses Cyrex food sensitivity. And my program looks like this. And so it is very much tactics. So, hey, if you want to go launch, for example, let's say a holistic fertility program, come and learn how to package, price, and promote a continuous glucose monitor and maybe an at-home hormone test, right? And one of the things that a lot of practitioners is they have a bit of an imposter syndrome. And so when somebody gets on stage and they
A bit of
and so the concept is, our speakers say what they charge. And the intent is to give practitioners confidence that there is a successful person that charges X amount of dollars. So we had Dr. Ben Hardy, who runs continuous glucose monitoring programs. Not Ben Hardy, Gaylord. And he has an online program. He only advertises on TikTok. He has no paid ads. He just built his followership on TikTok. He runs continuous glucose and dietary programs. He charges $14.99 for a 3-month program. And he gets hundreds of people through all the time just through TikTok, right? Now, TikTok might not be for everyone, but it gives somebody the confidence to say, hey, look, I can run an online program, but maybe I'm more active in my community and I'm going to do health and wellness because I am, active in my church community. So I'm going to do Sunday webinars, educational components, and that's where I get people from. I don't do anything online. I don't even have a website. And it's really about understanding how you can actually attract people, get them in, and then more importantly, how do you package, price, and promote your offering to get people to convert? So there is no kind of like slow start, false start. You're often running the day after the event.
I love that. A lot of the groups I'm in now, we've gone through this whole journey of like self-growth, business growth. They've done the programs, they've done this, and they didn't get and then now we're going into this space of like real-time actionable things. Like you're already going on Monday because when you leave here, you're set up for success. And I think nobody needs any more online programs. Like we need to like move and I don't say that from like a perspective of not like going through a transformational experience, but like from a business perspective, it's like we don't need any more of I'm going to show you how to do the funnel in 3 days and you're going to get a 6-figure business. And, it's like, no, we want it real time, real stuff. And I love how you do that because the vibe I sense, because I can't wait to go and I will be there, is the space of sharing. Like this whole exchange is kind of like, to me, the word collective comes to mind, right? The world needs more healing. I don't believe anybody in this world is in a competition with each other. We're in this beautiful sharing of all this information. And then we're hubbing together because if you help more people, I help more people. And it's like, I don't mess with I don't do the women thing. Like, it's just like, I can, but I don't love it. Like, I love helping dudes and like making them like the best versions of themselves so they can in turn, it's like, but where do I market? I market to the functional medicine doctors that are doing the women because they don't like to do men. And it's like every woman has a man.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you don't market to the men, you market to the women because the women want their man to go through that same process.
Yeah.
But from a perspective that's not like, and my wife sees a functional medicine doctor and she's like, I saw a guy last time. I just didn't feel right. It's like, because how's he going to talk to you about your estrogen imbalance? Like he doesn't feel like you went through pregnancy. Now you're going through menopause. And it's like, I get it if that's what he likes, but like she didn't have that feel to it, you
Yeah.
know? And so I love that conversation we've had around our avatars and the cross referencing, right? Hey, I don't do that, but you can go see this person. So that
Yeah.
network is building within your platform. And what I also love about Biocanic is you also creating this done for you approach,
Mhm.
right? Like someone's already been there, done that. So if you come on board and you want to do that too, we're putting these pieces together and you're helping me with that, which is really awesome because I think we could do this in pharmacies nationwide and all of a sudden we're doing real good in the world
Yeah.
and doing well from it.
Yeah.
Um, what kinds of people attend this live event? What kind of like is it people that are emerging into this field have already been there? From my perspective is like, who can I help? Who can I bring on this board?
Yeah. So it's always a great question. People ask us who's our ideal customer. It's like we have functional medicine, we have holistic medicine, functional nutrition, functional diagnostic nutrition, restorative wellness solutions. The commonality of who we like working with and who we partner with and who we want to bring together is anybody that's doing individualized programs or kind of individualized group programs,
Mhm.
and in where they're looking at wearables, intake forms, lab testing, customized supplement protocols. It's not a one size fits all approach, right? So if somebody just has, hey, do the Jeremy methodology, and you get a genetic methylation test, and here's the supplement based upon your so-called, that's not who we serve. It's our customers who really are looking deeper and wanting to work with somebody on a deeper level. So that could be, we have a lot of chiropractors, we have MDs, we have Ayurvedic practitioners, even Chinese medicine practitioners, acupuncturists, but everybody that's kind of evolved into this world of individualized, personalized medicine. So we have a lot of, like, for example, acupuncture, they're still doing acupuncture in person, but now they're kind of going to the next level because that person that came to them for needing acupuncture for chronic pain, well, let's talk about inflammation, right? Have you ever actually had your HSCRP run? What are your other things going on, right? And so now that's how they start to build those businesses. And one of the areas that we see a lot of really great growth. So obviously, a functional medicine person's in the industry, they're kind of doing the labs, tests, and everything. Where we see a lot of really good interest is coming out of the chiropractic world, right?
Mhm.
So you have somebody who is rate limited because they're doing in person, therapies and modalities, but how do you actually go to that next level and grow that business, right? Because now if I can run a virtual program, let's say we're going to do some adrenal stress testing, gut testing, now I can actually see more of my patient base. I'm not just limited by the 15 appointment slots I have on my calendar. I can now work with them at night and actually go deeper with those practice. And it really becomes a growth lever, but it also drives better outcomes because it's not just the adjustments and the manipulations, it's actually understanding them deeper. And those customers have seen really great growth and transformation in their businesses.
I love that. I had that same belief when this emerging new world of like community pharmacy, where they're going in for the prescription, but they need more, and they need
Yeah.
to sign, they need some labs, and they need some lifestyle adjustments, and they need to, like, you can build that one to many approach, right? Not just a single transaction. You're moving them from RX to wellness. That's why we called it that program, right? Is like moving them from there. And then also, I think what's important is you're also delivering this in a way that is scalable. And I think that's important because not everybody's going to create and build
Right.
from the beginning. It's like we're in this together, and some of these pieces are modular, and you can say, all right, what works for me? Here's some good stuff, so let's build that in, like the wearables and the labs, and you built this community around your system, but
Mhm.
in a way that I've never seen. And I think it's future proofing ourselves into the new future. So that's amazing. Where do people go to find out more about Biocanic, Hicks, these things, so we can send them to the right places if this resonates?
Yeah, definitely. So we are Biocanic. So I don't think we covered this. The name came from the combination of the word biology and mechanic. So the concept
Ah,
called
I was
so the
actually thinking that, and now it's like, duh.
yeah.
You've
So
talked through
the concept being like they plug your car into a computer, it does the diagnostics, it tells you it's wrong. So it's biocanic.com. All of our information's there. So you just book a demo if you're interested. We have a great team. Everybody's super involved in the space and super active. Most of my team is actually practitioners doing, and they have side business as well. So we love to consult with our customers, help them understand, even if somebody is just getting started. We're very hands-on. We do one-on-one training, group training, everything. So we're very much invested in this industry. And then if you want to learn about our event, it's HIX-live.com. So Health Intelligence Exchange Live. And it's a great event. It's in San Diego in October. It's a perfect time to be out here. We're in Mission Bay at a great hotel. We're really excited about our speakers. So we have even some keynote speakers to talk about how you can build your personal story brand. So that's Bo Eason. We have Michael Fishman, who's been a 30-year veteran in health and wellness marketing. So thinking about the psychology of taglines and messaging, how you do word choice, what resonates. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. We're going to do kind of like a live work through a process of how to get to your messaging strategy. And then we have Dr. Deb Matthew, who's got a really successful hormone business. She's been training practitioners. She's going to talk about her journey from being one-on-one to now not seeing any patients whatsoever and having a very thriving and successful business. So really great speakers. We have Brendan Vermeyer, Nawaz Habib. So really, really compelling group. And everybody is really going to be kind of, and Dr. Tom O'Brien. Totally forgot about that. So
nice.
Dr. Tom, he's, obviously a longtime friend and a great speaker. So really excited to have him come on. He's doing some really cool stuff looking at some of his food and inflammation, his neuroinflammation panels that he's running with his certain cohorts and different regions. So it's really exciting to see some of the stuff that he's been uncovering. But again, that's HIX-live.com. And then the promo code, which goes through the end of July, is Beyond the Pills, one word. And it's 45% off. So both VIP and regular admission. Our VIP, we'll have a party, we get DJ, a lot of fun stuff. So it's a super high energy event.
I can't wait. I have half my college friends live in OB and PB and in San Diego.
You're right. You're right in the middle.
I have a very, very keen interest in going. So I'll be excited to learn. And I know Deb well. We're both in Charlotte, and my wife has used her practice. Actually, that's so I went to the best. It's like, so I can't wait to see that. I always end with this. Thank you for sharing and all that stuff. It's just beautiful to have like-minded people. I can't wait to dive into my own practice as we launch these programs within the Biocanic, which is awesome. What's the one thing you want people to know out of this conversation?
I have been in the health world. There has never been a more opportune moment for this industry to actually accelerate and completely change the healthcare paradigm. We've been talking about it forever. If you listen to the headlines, disruption of industries never comes from within. It always comes from the outside, right? Taxi cab industry didn't create Uber and Lyft. The hotel industry didn't create VRBO. The people and the practitioners that are doing the work are what will disrupt and actually change the trajectory of our healthcare industry. And only now, post-pandemic, has the consumer world finally got broken free of being married to their health insurance. And I know it sounds scary, especially for somebody that hasn't started in the space, but with high deductible health plans, payer with denials, not getting access, and frankly, we have some practitioners that get scared off by companies like Function Health. All they're doing is creating consumer demand, and there is a massive amount of consumer demand, and they're looking for practitioners like the people listening to this podcast, like the people that you're training, and the opportunity is right now, and it's a really exciting time because it's also going to, it's just going to transform the healthcare industry. So I'm really excited about it. When I started this 7 years ago, I didn't know we were going to have a global pandemic that was going to completely shift the mindset of how people feel. But you have, everybody, I call it the Joe Rogan effect, number one podcast in the world, constantly talking about, did you get your blood work done? What are you doing? Working out, cold plunge, sauna, all this stuff. It is in the consumer conversation. And now is a time for people to capitalize on that and start really helping people at a deeper level.
I love that. And it's such an alignment, right? I think there's practitioners that are, frustrated with the sick care system and a reactive system, and they want to go over here. And now it's like this beautiful golden age is emerging. Like people are sick of it too. They're like, this is failing us. I always like that's part of our mission is to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications. How do you make them unnecessary? Right? That's the question. It's not that we're not doing these things. It's like, no, this is the future.
Yeah.
And so I love that. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for what you're doing. And I'm so tickled that we've been able to cross paths right at the right moment in time for me. Can't wait to work with you guys more about this and how we transform health. Cause I truly believe the same. We're at the we're like moving right out of the chrysalis, right into the new age. So
Yeah.
Super awesome. Jeremy, thank you. Go check them out. Biocanic, hicks-live.com. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait to continue the journey, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this was great. Awesome episode. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Till next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.